I think it's very much common knowledge that you shouldn't attack someone by attacking their spouse. But some people seem to have a tendency to forget that when it's convenient.
All right, I showed you the clip of how NBC selectively edited the comments of Governor Romney. Now, let's show NBC. By the way, Tom Brokaw, are you proud? Brian Williams, are you proud? Watch your news brand deteriorate with this attack on Ann Romney.
Mitt Romney has always told the story of the family's entry into the breathtakingly expensive so-called sport of dressage as a therapeutic option for Ann Romney's multiple sclerosis. This is not in any way to make light of Ann Romney's difficulty with MS. It's obviously a very difficult thing to bear. And there are a lot of things you can do to try to deal with MS, but come on. Dressage does not appear in any of the more traditional courses of treatment.
Look, he's a bit... What? How low can you go?
There's two words that you could use to describe MSNBC's actions today, writ large, and that is low rent.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Attacking a first lady or a first lady, the wife of a candidate, should be off limits. And he looks so pathetic.
Yeah, he does.
He's trying to make this point, and it is not working for him.
He is pathetic. All right.
Oh my goodness, I think you're right. People that attack candidates' wives should be ashamed of themselves. They're pathetic. We would never be able to find an instance of Sean Hannity attacking a candidate's wife.
Doesn't that make you feel good in the midst of an economic slowdown? Michelle Obama's closed. But do you remember this Michelle Obama from the election? We got that queued up there, Gregster.
For the first time in my adult life, I am proud of my country because it feels like hope is finally making a comeback.
Yeah, hope that I can get all these great designer clothes and that everyone will report on it and call me, Jackie Kennedy and Camelot, and it's unbelievable.
From Sean Hannity's book, Conservative Victory. But it's been suggested that one of Obama's voluntary relationships is more revealing of his radicalism, anti-Americanism, and anti-capitalism than all of the others. His choice of marital partner. The columnist known as Spengler, writing for the Asia Times, quoted Alexandra Dumas. "When you want to uncover an unspecified secret, look for the woman." In Obama's case, wrote Spengler, there have been two principal women in his life, his late mother and his rancorous wife Michelle. Obama's women reveal his secret. He hates America. Now, while you've just heard a direct quote from Sean Hannity's book and Sean Hannity's radio show, what he likes to do on TV is a little bit more devious, because instead of attacking Michelle Obama himself, he likes to invite another woman onto his show, and has done so for the last 4 years. In fact, he's used the same woman for 4 years to insult the First Lady.
You literally examine person by person, starting with Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
America's a downright mean country. For the first time in my life, I'm proud of my country. Tell us about Michelle Obama and what you found.
In chapter 2 of the book, I call her the first crony. And she really is. I mean, she was born and bred into the daily political machine. She and Barack Obama have been joined at the hip in exploiting their position as power brokers in Chicago and then posing as the champions of the little people. She worked for one of the most prestigious law firms in Chicago, and she's hooked up with a number of Chicago cronies who who are now running the government and running our economy into the ground. I think her role, particularly in healthcare, and you highlighted last week the patient dumping scheme at the University of Chicago Medical Center, is very telling. And there's also the bullying of the Chicago way. And I reported recently about her probable role in the ejection of the Inspector General of the AmeriCorps program.
You also went into great detail, and this was a story that was covered, but on a very small level. You know, her salary in 2004, when he became a senator, was $122,000 a year. All of a sudden, a miraculous jump to $317,000 a year. But more importantly, I want to go back to this patient dumping scheme. I want you to explain to our audience, because she's at the Chicago Medical Center, University of Chicago Medical Center, and this was a well-orchestrated political campaign hiring David Axelrod, other cronies and friends of theirs, where the very people that now claim they want to help the poor and the indigent and the disabled and help everybody get health care were involved in a scheme to push them away from her hospital. Explain that.
That's exactly right. And I think people really need to look at this episode closely. It's why I spent so much time on the book in it, because what they did in Chicago is what they'll deliver to the rest of the country. And as I said, you know, the Obamas and the administration have posed as the champions of minorities and poor people, and yet, under the guise of helping them, they booted them out of the University of Chicago emergency room, hired David Axelrod. Here he profits from a contract to sell this to minorities and try and convince them that this bad medicine is good for them. And now Susan Scher, who is also a part of the University of Chicago conglomerate and the sorority and fraternity that were architects of this, is now installed at the East Wing under Michelle Obama to help her sell the Obamacare plan.
Now, while the mainstream media sleeps, my next guest is taking it upon herself to vet the First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama. Now, Michelle Malkin says that Mrs. Obama is, quote, fair game in this election, despite the president's prior demands that journalists should, quote, lay off his wife. Now, the hypocrisy of such a request is pretty obvious, considering that the First Lady is currently running around the country promoting her latest book and appearing on numerous television programs, all to push her husband's agenda in the process. And joining me now to tell us more about the campaign to vet Mrs. Obama is the author of the New York Times #1 bestseller, Culture of Corruption, Michelle Malkin. Hi.
Hi.
I read your piece. Its headline was, yes, Michelle Obama is fair game. I think it's fair game. I get a little concerned when you talk about, first of all, I don't think children should be involved ever, period, end of sentence. Do you agree with that?
Yep.
Okay. I think she's fair game in as much as anything that she says politically. In other words, if she's going to talk about her husband and promote his agenda and he's the greatest thing, and then at that point she opens herself up to political criticism. Do you agree that has to take place first?
Certainly, and I've done that for the last 5 years. There are very few people in the lapdog media who want to take Michelle Obama on. It isn't merely the statements that she's made in the past, and I think that you and I and a few others during the course of the 2008 campaign stepped up to the plate to talk about all of her disparaging remarks about America, the remarks and the rhetoric that earned her the moniker, in my words, of the bitter half of the Obama administration. I think Michelle Obama has gotten away with a lot of double talk, because at the same time that she says that we need more civility with regard to the public square, where do we see Michelle Obama? Sitting with David Letterman, who has said the most disgusting, vile things, not only about Sarah Palin, but about her children as well. There's so much hypocrisy that, you know, we could drown in it, because here's Michelle Obama. She's schlocking this garden book on every show on cable and mainstream TV from the beginning of the day to the end of the night, and nobody is going to ask her these tough questions about her behavior in the East Wing and about her failure to speak up for women, not just the women who are going to support her husband, but women in general in the workplace and stay-at-home moms as well.
Just for the record, she is invited on this program, as is President Obama, but so far I've had zero luck. I don't know why. I don't understand. Yeah, too bad there's never
going to be a head-to-head Michelle versus Michelle, because I'd love to vet
all the
the
rest
First
of the
Lady
media
in person.
Sucking up for these interviews. They're getting. I must be doing something wrong, or maybe right. Thank you, Michelle Malkin. Appreciate you being with us.
What you've just experienced is just the tip of the iceberg of all of the attacks that Sean Hannity has made against President Obama's wife, Michelle. And in defense of Lawrence O'Donnell, the guy in the first clip in this video, at least he had the courage to speak his criticisms himself on television and not invite a guest to do his dirty work for him. And he didn't have to belabor the point over 4 years. So, what was it again that Sean Hannity said about people who have to attack candidates' wives?